stress. I want you try surviving on the public face, then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how we go set up. The people fed up. They don't drive no fair with the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment, and you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. When you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Baratans too. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US, and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look where the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes.
Yes, my name is Jacinti Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my X next to the cup, and what they are doing today I can't take it, so I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
You could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime.
Just imagine, he doesn't own Guyana. He is just what is called a flatfoot hustler. And he is talking about giving a piece of Guyana to Venezuela. What could be more treasonous than that? It is right there for you guys to see, for you guys to hear. You heard it. Jack Dio is promising to give a piece of Venezuela to Guyana, a piece of Guyana, to Venezuela, as though it belongs to him. Idadi or Imuma or Inani or Inana, dead and gone, and left 83,000, not 83 square miles, according to the Paku Commissioner of Police, 83,000 square miles that he, Jack Dio, thinks he owns it. Every single thing he owns. He died, he left, and Imani left, dead and left Guyana. I'm sure Tom Anderson probably understands this by now. He died, he removed, dead and left Guyana for him. That Katahar, that core he. Hey, let's start right over again. Good night. My name is Mark Benchab. Welcome to Straight Up. Tom Anderson is with us. He's back. He's feeling better. He's up and he's about and he's ready to rock and roll tonight. our producer says, well, we do have a producer after all. We're big in this business, right? Even though we're not getting a penny, no ads, no nothing. And that is how 107.1 FM, we fight, we go through the storm, we don't cry, we don't complain, you know? And if somebody gives us a little something, we accept and we bless. But like one PNC dotish supporter said that Ben Shop get cash app. So what if Ben Shop has a cash app? So what? So what? You know? And then you're hearing some of them. Let me tell you guys something before I bring on Tom Anderson, because Tom Anderson knows all of our business now in Guyana. Everything, not the corruption, just the corruption in the government, so-called government, and who's smuggling X, Y, and Z, and so forth and so on. He knows all of our business, every single thing he knows. Tom Anderson knows it. But here's what a PNC, couple of the PNC Pakus, and they got some PNC Pakus, you know. So we got to be careful. We got to be honest with that, you know. And now, Ben Shop, listen to this carefully. Some of you may laugh because they're not getting their way. They say Ben Shop is now a racist. Ben Shop doesn't like persons of African descent. Ben Shop doesn't like black people. Can you guys believe this? Seriously, Tom, let's bring Tom. Tom, good night, and a nice haircut, by the way. I'm not hearing you. I'm not sure what's going on, but take the compliments, man.
Got it. Thank you.
Nice haircut.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good. We're all good. Glad that you are feeling better. We noticed some of the bumps raising here. Let's say good night to Sean Anthony, Ben, and others. Bumps raising. And so these folks got to be careful. This is an elections year. You don't want to isolate people. Those who are PNC supporters, and it's okay. It's fine. But to go as far as to now call me a racist, some of these Pakus call me, and not coming from the PPP, mind you, it is coming from some PNC Pakus, because they don't get their way. Mark Benshop doesn't like black people. I don't know what's going on, man. Tom, I'm sure you don't have that experience with me, but good night. How are you, sir?
Good night, man. No, never had that experience, Mark, ever. So, you know, people get heated, man. You know, they get emotional. I can understand why they get so upset, you know, and they want to lash out. And so they're wrong, but, you know, you have to understand why they're frustrated. I can get it.
No, really?
I get it.
I don't know. Sean is saying take the mic. When they have their press conference, Sean, when y'all have y'all press conference on Friday, I asked Tom to take the mic too, right? Because maybe he can make a lot of sense during that time, during that press conference. But that's another story, as we are not going to be distracted. And that's a warning to Sean. That's a warning. We're not going to be distracted here at all. Because some of these guys, they know when and where to come to distract things. It is not going to happen. And I'm just going to point that out to some of you guys in a very serious tone. It's not going to happen here. So, Tom Anderson, good to have you back. But before we get into business, let me just say that elections for 2025, not the general and regional elections, but elections for the Guyana Teachers Union, it's around the corner. And so this is just something that we are doing here for the GTU. Elections package will include list of names of GTU members who should receive a ballot, an envelope with ballot for each member to vote, and return flyer outlining the voting process. And so kudos to those guys. I think Trevor, Ben is and company and others are involved in this, and you know it's going to be quite transparent. And so kudos to those who are behind the scene trying to make this happen. Tom Anderson, again, welcome back. And those of you who are now joining us, good night and welcome to Straight Up on 107.1 FM. Tom, as you would know by now, the Pope is gone. And right after, the day after he met with J.D. Vance, he just, as we would say in Guyana, he kicked the bucket. He died. Your take on this, please.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone in the audience that has reached out and just prayed for me and everything else. Audrey Brown, thank you. I see you there. Hazel, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Prayer does work. It's one of the most powerful things you can do for anyone. And so people prayed for me. I really appreciate it. I really want to thank all of you. And so, yeah, on that note with the Pope, yeah, he's, he did some things in the church that were very interesting. He bucked the traditional route. He went a more progressive route. I felt like since he came from South America, he had a different touch on this part of the world from previous popes. I thought the Catholic Church had more of a focus down in Central and South America than they had in the United States, whereas Pope John Paul, those guys traditionally would be more focused on the United States. So yeah, he was an interesting pope. And the thing with JD Vance, JD Vance, that guy, if you look close, he's one of those guys, man, that just he brings a bad spirit with him. That's the best way to put it.
Right.
That's what he brings with him, man. And so
so with that though, Tom, not to cut you with that.
That was it. That was it.
People would love for JD Vance to visit Guyana and meet with Jack Deo and Air Finale and those days, and some of them bad politicians. They would love for him to meet with him. Take a listen to, please.
Pray for you every day. God bless you. So good to see you. Good morning. How are you?
Find yourself.
Good. Yeah, thank you. Not been feeling great, but it's good to see you in better health.
Yeah, that's JD Vance. Hopefully, he will take a visit to Guyana. Let me ask you this, Tom. What's the possibility of having a black pope, a person of African descent, being elected into that office pretty soon? What's the possibility?
No, I doubt it. I doubt that will happen. I don't know. We don't live in that time right now where that's a doable thing. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think that's doable in today's world. For so many reasons, it should be doable. Because of technology and the way the world has just become internationalized, and you would think that it should be very much possible now. But it's almost like because the world is so diverse now. European culture has to, hold on to its identity by making sure they still have a pope that reflects how they look culturally, I think. So I doubt that the pope will be anyone other than someone who reflects European culture, in my opinion.
Gotcha. And but I do hope that they do elect an African person to that position. And hopefully that when JD Vance asked to visit him, that he would say, no, I'm not going to fall for that. No, JD Vance. All right. Good night to all of you. Tom Anderson is with us this evening, right here on 107.1 FM. Those of you who are in Guyana, good night to all of you. The people of Linden, Tom, what is your take? The people of Linden, they're still mourning. They're still waiting for justice. As you look into what's happening there in Linden, with the murders of those two youngsters by members of the Guyana Police Force, and the fact that members of the RSS, which is a regional security force out in the Caribbean, they are there once again in Guyana to quote unquote investigate. What is your take on looking into Linden and the murders of those two young men by police?
Well, Linden, is in the same, transition as the entire nation of Guyana, but maybe even more so for Linden, because Linden's coming from a place that was a lot lower than some other places in Guyana, right? And so their rise with the rest of the nation has been, to me, maybe a little bit more steep. And so there's more of an adjustment that has to be made for the people of Linden, and the government should be, in my opinion, the government doesn't really realize that places like Linden need extra resources. And they need the extra resources not because they're better than everyone else or not because they're worse than everyone else. It's not that. It's that there's a history that has befallen the people of Linden that has in many ways have hurt them generationally. And you have to compensate for that. You have to be able to deal with all of the sufferings that have piled on their heads over generations. in order for them to be able to adjust better to what's happening now. And so that's what I see is that I see a government that is not trying to neglect the people of Linden, but it's sort of turning out to be that way because they're not realizing that Linden needs way more resources than it's getting. Linden needs way more attention being paid to it than it's getting. And the reason, like I said, is because of there's a historical context here, and you have to be able to bridge that gap. And it's for the entire nation. It's for the betterment of the entire nation that Linden gets more attention and gets more resources. That's my take on it. And I don't know if the government is listening. I don't know if they can understand what I'm saying on this, but it's imperative. And I'm speaking from a place, a little bit of experience, because we had cities here in the United States, out there in Los Angeles. We had areas like Watts and Compton that were just totally run down and beat down, and there was violence going on. And as the country, as America was getting out of the 80s drug epidemic and building again, and we were going into the .com world, places like LA were falling behind, and black areas were falling behind. And so extra resources had to go there. The people in these areas in Compton and Watts had to come up with ways to build themselves up. And they had to do that in conjunction with help from people all around our country, right? So I think the same thing has to happen in Linden. I see some similar characteristics between what I saw here in the 90s and the early 2000s in America and Linden right now. And I just think, if the government just paid a little bit more attention and gave some more resources, things could be a lot better in Linden. And Linden could be a very special place for the nation of Guyana going forward if they do right by it.
Thank you so much, Tom Anderson. At 24 minutes after 9 o'clock, if you're now joining us, it's the 22nd day of April, 2025. And Linden is indeed a special place. In fact, the entire Guyana is a special place, but some places are extra special. And I think that Linden is top of the list in being as special as it is, because during the days when the PPP were sabotaging the sugar industry, burning cane fields and domestic terrorism, acts of domestic terrorism and all these things, it was Linden. And Linden was like a little New York. It was like a Miami, so to speak. It was bright. It was the breadbasket, not just of Guyana, but a breadbasket of the Caribbean, with the bauxite being shipped out. And that tongue, the Linden, the mining tongue, was able to sustain the entire Guyana. So it was very, very special then, and it remains special now. I agree with you. It appears that they are actually turning a blind eye on Linden, deliberately neglecting the township. I noticed there's a comment from Simone Jessamy saying, hell-bent on destroying Linden. And that sort of opinion is consistent across the board. The perception by so many people, so many Guyanese, is that the PPP regime is hell-bent on destroying the township of Linden. Tom, before we move on, we're still going to stick on Linden. The funerals of the two young men, who were murdered by members of the Guyana Police Force, took place Sunday. And not a single so-called government official, not one of them attended that funeral. What is your take on that, sir?
Yeah, like I said, Linden's in that transition place. That it's a place where the politicians, the elected officials, they don't know if they should put their reputation on the line by coming out to such a funeral, to anything that could be politically sensitive, right? And so that's why I say Linden's in a very, very, very strange situation, strange position, time-wise, and a timeline of its city, of the area, of the nation, of everything going on with Venezuela now. I mean, there's a lot going on, and everything is shifting very fast. So I could see how they're being basically how they're slipping between the cracks, right? This is what has happened here in the United States. It's happened in a lot of different places around the world. So it's one of those things where, for the nation of Guyana to be as strong as it needs to be and as independent as it needs to be, Linden needs to be one of the great cities of Guyana. And for that to happen, they have to get more attention. They have to get more resources. They have to be in a position where when things are happening and there's funerals like these, that the national politicians can come in and feel comfortable and feel like, you know, they're a part of, you know, making sure that something, you know, is done and changed with how policing happens there, and they're a part of the community. And right now, I don't think they feel that way. And so that has to change, but it can't come from the people of Linden. It has to come from the government side. If the government wants a better relationship with the people of Linden, the government has to change their approach, right? And the approach has to be much more opening, much more arms open. It has to be an approach of, you know, basically a blank check, you know, whatever you guys need to improve your schools, to improve your infrastructure, your roads, everything that you've got there. There's a blank check. Let's go. Let's get to work. I mean, this is how they have to handle Linden. Anything less than that, you're going to have problems, and you just don't need those problems in Guyana right now. You just, and it's unnecessary to have problems. But that's what has to happen. Will they get around to doing it? I don't know. Hopefully they will. And this is what the opposition should be all about. This is what politics should be all about in Guyana right now, is making sure that places like Linden get the attention they deserve. And you don't have to be in the PNC to say this. You can be someone, you can be a PPP supporter and understand that, hey, Linden needs to be taken care of. You can, that's fine. It's fine to be that way. That's how the nation has to start thinking now. The citizens, you have to get out of the political mindset. You have to get more into the mindset of, no matter where someone is in the nation of Guyana, if they're in a troubled spot, the government has to be there. The people have to be there to lift them up and take care of them. That's what has to happen regardless of party.
Absolutely. But 23 years, the PPP didn't do it. They neglected that township. It became basically a ghost town. Linden has been able to sustain itself as a result of the hardworking people there, even though the corrupt PPP regime for 23 years, it could not create any sort of jobs for the people. And thankfully, a lot of them have relatives overseas, and those from overseas went back there because they believe in the township, that beautiful town of Linden. And so the PPP cannot say of any development they have done in that township over the past 20, maybe 27, 28 years since they've been in office. What they've done, they've been targeting the people of Linden because those folks out in Linden, they support overwhelmingly, they support the PNC. And at one point, I think the AFC got one seat in that region, including Linden. And so the PPP back in 2006, they stole 2011, I think it was, they stole a seat from the people of Region 10, which include, of course, Linden. The PPP are a bunch of vagabonds. They stole the people's seat in that region. And Sam Hines, who was prime minister then, squatted on that seat for 5+ years. So the skullduggery is there. We're watching that they're attempting to steal another seat in Linden. The evidence is there. It's glaring to all those who have eyes to see. All right, so let us see what's happening next as we move on. I noticed some of your comments talking about one particular comment coming from Shrimpy, DJ Shrimpy. DJ Shrimpy, we saw a comment just now. If our operator can get back to Coley Allen, also known as DJ Shrimpy, says, and he's from the mining town of Linden. He says, years ago when the whole of Guyana in blackout, Linden always had lights. Exactly. And not only lights, Linden was basically the bread and butter for the entire Guyana that saved Guyana during those years when the PPP was practicing domestic terrorism by burning cane fields and sabotaging the entire economy. Thanks to Linden. Thank you so much, Linden. It's a shame, though, that under the PPP regime in 2011, 2012, the 3 persons were shot and killed by members of the Guyana Police Force. At that time, the current commissioner of police was the commander. He was not charged. He was not placed before the court. Neither was he thrown in jail for a few years. But today he sits there as the commissioner of police. That just explains Guyana in a nutshell. Tom Anderson, I know you've been peeping into Guyana for quite some while. quite some time as we move on now. This wouldn't come as a surprise to you, though, that gold from Venezuela refinery smuggled into Guyana. Gold being smuggled. Why is it that some Guyanese are now opening their eyes to what was existing all these years? The smuggling of gold into Guyana by some billionaires, overnight billionaires. Tom, this is not anything surprising to you, right?
No, this has been going on forever. This is sort of what the fight is over, right? So when the PPP and the PNC are arguing over who's going to run Guyana, part of the fight is over, is Guyana going to be a government that continues to allow smuggling of natural resources out of the region, or is it going to be a government that stops that from happening? And so there are a lot of people around the world who want to continue the smuggling of all types of things through Guyana. And these people are dangerous people. These people will hurt people. They'll go out there and they will kill people. They're violent. I mean, these are guys who work outside of the law. They work within the law. They bribe governments. I mean, these are scary folks, right? And so that's sort of what the people of Guyana have to realize when they're going into elections. It's not just about Guyana, it's about the rest of the world, because if you have a government in place that allows smuggling of all types of stuff out of the Amazon into Guyana and out into the rest of the world, then what you're bringing into our world is a group of basically pirate billionaire people who are wreaking havoc on all of our countries, right? That's what you invite when you have a government that allows smuggling on the scale that's been happening in Guyana. And so that's what's on the ballot, basically. And people need to understand that. That's one of the reasons why I come on the show, is to explain that, hey, so for people in the United States, there are things that we do care about in Guyana. And one of the things we care about is the smuggling situation, because we know that it invites dangerous people who do really bad things to people. Okay, we know this, and we don't want that happening in our backyard. Right? As Americans, we want to be able to feel free to be able to do business anywhere near us. We want to be able to be peaceful with our neighbors. And you can't do that if you have Guyana in a position where they're allowing smuggling of everything from nations all around them, through them, and out into the rest of the world with outlaw bandit people. It's a big problem. And not only that, with bandits, you're talking about, this is how terrorism gets financed around the world. A lot of bad things are financed because the government of Guyana is not in a position to deal with the smuggling epidemic that's coming out of the region out into the rest of the world through the nation of Guyana.
Tom, over the years, watching into Guyana and the affairs as it pertains to smuggling, not just of gold and drugs and all these things, and there are some very key players who have been smuggling gold out of the country, and some of them have been using some of their monies, hundreds of millions of dollars, to finance terrorism around the world. What are some of the things that you have unearthed by some of these smugglers, gold smugglers in Guyana?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of it is going out to finance terrorism, okay, out in the Middle East. So when you follow where the smuggled drugs and the smuggled gold is going, it's going to some of the worst places on earth, war-torn places, places where there are sanctions, places where there are things like nuclear contraband being smuggled. I mean, this is, when you have the amount of smuggling happening that's been going on through Guyana, it invites so many bad actors in the world to your country that it becomes just a danger zone almost, okay, where just really, really bad people just want to be hanging around. And that's, I'm telling you, that's where these elections are going to be coming down to, because no matter who's in charge in Guyana, there is going to be pressure by these really bad actors to make the government acquiesce and turn a blind eye to this smuggling that's been going on, because it's billions and billions of dollars worth of stuff that's been coming out of here, and it's financing wars. Okay, it's financing people who need this stuff in order to fight their battles, in order to murder people, in order to sell drugs and do all types of things. So this is a dangerous game that Guyana is in the middle of, and the people have the power to get out of it, but it's going to take the people. Only the people can get together to help wipe this scourge out of our region, and then it's up to the people of Guyana to do it. No one else can do it. It's up to you guys.
Yep. Thank you so much, guys. Those who have smuggled gold out of the country and other stuff and became this overnight millionaires and billionaires, you've got to be very cautious because a lot of that money was used to finance terrorism around the world and to support some really, really bad folks. And read between the lines, guys. Read between the lines. Tom, we move over now to the U.S. State Department that highlights corruption, bribery, nepotism in public sector as the key hindrances to drug fight in Guyana. They're talking specifically about the drug fight now, and they're saying, look, in other words, public sector, nepotism, and all these things. Marco Rubio just left Guyana not so long ago, and he seemed to think Guyana is in good hands. But yet, weeks after his visit, we hear the U.S. State Department talks about corruption, bribery, nepotism in public sector. Not just public sector, government agencies as well, as key hindrances to drug fight in Guyana. Are you surprised at this report, sir?
I mean, this is what we know. I mean, I'm glad that they're reporting it. I mean, they could have reported this now every single day for the past 25 years. I mean, this is what it's been. So no, not surprised. What I will say though is, people should realize in Guyana that you can blame the United States government that we've been asleep at the wheel, that we aren't helping enough because Guyana needs help to deal with this gold smuggling and drug smuggling and all this stuff. I mean, like I said, these are dangerous hombres that they're dealing with. And so, yeah, Guyana needs help. But the issue is, okay, yes, we can help, but no one is here to take over the nation of Guyana for the people of Guyana. You guys have your own government. Yes, people can help, but there's only so much we can do, okay? And so this really is an issue for the people of Guyana. Whenever you guys are debating your election and you're talking about the PPP versus the PNC, the debate should really be about, hey, are we going to be a nation going forward that eradicates the drug smuggling and the gold smuggling and the human trafficking? Are we going to get rid of that? Or are we going to be a bandit nation that's going to allow all that to continue to happen to hell or high water? Which one are we going to do? That's the question. And that's what the parties should be arguing over and should be talking about. If you ask the PPP, I don't think they really care about the smuggling and stuff like that. I don't think they care. I think for them, as long as those guys stay away from causing violence or problems in Guyana, then whatever violence they cause outside in the rest of the world, who cares? I think that's sort of the attitude from what I've seen from the PPP. And I think with the PNC, I don't see them saying much either. Okay. I don't see much coming out of them either on this. So it's a touchy subject, but it's one of those things where outside force is needed, but the outside force can only come in and help if the people of Guyana make space for that to occur. And the people have to do that through the elections, right? And so speak your voice in your elections. And if you want outside help to deal with this drug problem, then you have to vote accordingly, okay? And you have to hold these parties responsible as to who's going to deal with it and who's going to reach out to get the kind of help that you need to stop this from happening.
Tom, to give the opposition, when they were in office, APN UAFC coalition, they did a lot to go after the drug lords, and the drug lords went into their holes, so to speak, into hiding, even though they may have been operating slyly, but they weren't as brave as they are now under the corrupt PPP regime. What the coalition government did, they removed the head of the drug enforcement agency in Guyana called KANU, the drug enforcement agency there in Guyana. They removed the head and put somebody that can really go after and tackle those drug lords. As soon as the PPP got installed back into office, they replaced the head of KANU with the same guy who was removed. And the head of KANU was removed because of under questionable circumstances. He was removed. And so the PPP is quite comfortable with having someone like that they can probably manipulate, they can control, and the drug lords can be comfortable and happy with those sort of people at the helm of those agencies. We hear here, this is another, according to the report, despite growing oil wealth and the government's increased efforts, so-called increased efforts, the public sector, including law enforcement and custom officials, remain underpaid, coupled with lack of adequate resources and shortcomings in the legal system. This allows traffickers to exploit government systems and move illicit drugs through Guyana. Not just the drugs, but the gold. We heard about that Reuters report and all these things, and the overnight billionaires, how they were able to do their illegal trades. This is coming from the U.S. State Department report about drugs. Again, not surprising, sir.
No, I mean, this is the world that we live in. All right. And so, this is dangerous stuff. Okay. This is stuff that's very serious. And it's going to take it's going to take more than the government of Guyana to deal with this. Okay. This is an international problem. And so they're going to have the government of Guyana is going to have to be in a position where they can work with not only our government, but the governments of Canada, the governments in the region as well, CARICOM governments, everybody, Brazil. They have to be able to work with everyone on this because this is an international issue. Guyana is a key piece in all of this for the smugglers, right? But Guyana is not the only one with this problem. And no matter how much the government of Guyana does by itself, it won't be able to stop what's happening, right? They have to work with others.
Cut you, the government, there's no evidence that they're doing anything other than aiding and abetting the drug lords. Take, for example, commanders, senior police officers are accused of being part of the drug trade. Instead of being questioned and probably investigated, the PPP just removed them from one region to the next region instead of investigating them, putting them in jail if they're found guilty, or removing them from the Guyana police force. That is what the PPPC is doing. And so because of that, they're not serious about fighting the drug trade. If they fight the drug trade, guess what they'll be doing, Tom? They'll be fighting themselves.
Well, that's a part of it. That's the part of the problem, right? Is that the drug trade and the smuggling has gotten so intertwined with the economy of Guyana that there's overlap, that there are people who are benefiting from it all over the political spectrum, right? And so the same thing happens here in the United States, where there are individuals, there are companies, there are places here that are enriched off of the drug trade. Okay. And those people want the drug trade to continue, or they don't want to stop it because they'd be hurting themselves if they did anything to stop the drug trade. Right. And so that's the problem with this thing, is that, the drug trade is not a simple problem. It's insidious. It benefits many, many people, many economies. It's one of those things that's just really hard to eradicate. And trust me when I tell you, look, the United States had this war on drugs, and all it really did was it was used to abuse Black people. Okay, it really didn't stop the drug flow. And we were trying everything we could. We were in the jungles with helicopters and everything, and we just couldn't stop it. So this is a much bigger problem. It's an international issue. What has to happen is Guyana has to have a network in place, an infrastructure in place where they can track what's coming in and out of the country, and they can work with their partner nations to be able to make it so that Guyana isn't such an attractive place for smugglers to use. That's it. You don't have to, perfect it to make it so no one can smuggle anything through. No. We just have to make it uninviting enough to make the traffickers move on to somewhere else where it's easier, somewhere else in the region, right? And so the only way to do that is to put the infrastructure in place, use the oil revenue that they're getting to get, the boats you need, to get the helicopters you need, to get all the equipment and the infrastructure in place to be able to control your borders and to be able to control your ports so that you know what's coming in and out. That's it. And that's a technical function of the government. The people of Guyana can't do anything about that, right? But you can vote for which party is going to put infrastructure in place so that your nation can partner with the rest of the world to help stop the drug flow coming, the smuggling coming through your nation, because it's not to your nation's benefit for this to occur. Okay, there's no reason why Guyana needs the money that comes from the drug trade. You guys don't need it, right? And so why, when you're voting, this is what you're voting for. Are you voting for a government that will continue to allow smuggling? Or are you going to vote for a government that will stop the smuggling and get the nation of Guyana out of the sphere of smugglers and murderers and basic international pirate billionaires wreaking havoc on everyone? Get that out of your nation. And the way you do it is with your vote.
Sorry about that. International pirate billionaires. I like that. Pirate billionaires, not real billionaires. Pirate billionaires who were able to smuggle. They have quite a few of them in Guyana, mind they, parading themselves as legitimate business people and caring people about human rights and all these things. They're pirate billionaires. Got rich overnight. Some of them accused of smuggling gold, smuggling drugs, smuggling oil, all manner of things happening. And be careful with them. They're snitching on each other now. Tom, as we are still going to be on the issue of gold bar and so forth, here is something I'm sure you're too familiar with, and kudos to your work as well. Nadine Menendez, the wife of former Senator Bob Menendez, convicted of bribery. Your take, Tom, on that. You're not surprised that she's been convicted, just like her husband.
No, this is what my book's on. So just so you guys know, I have a book coming out in October called Gold Bar Bob, and it's about Bob Menendez, his life, his career, and his downfall. So yes, I know a lot about this, and yeah, man. I mean, she was a key. His wife, if for anyone, when you guys buy the book, you'll be able to read it in the book, okay? But his wife, she was a true partner in crime to him. She wasn't just someone who was along for the ride to get the benefits of, a Mercedes bought for her and gold bars and cash laying all over the house. It wasn't just her along for the ride for that. She was actively involved. She was promoting this. She was the go-between between Egyptian spies and Senator Menendez. Okay, she loved it. It was so intense that he actually bought a handbell, and he would call her ding, ding, ding whenever he would need her out there to bring a pen and paper for the people who were bribing him for the request of what he would have to do for the bribe. So he would call her with a bell. And so, yes, she went down on the bribery, man. She went down on this because without her, Bob Menendez, Gold Bar Bob, he wouldn't have been able to pull off the corruption he pulled off without her. And so, yeah, she went down. And by the way, she tried to play the poor her, sick person card. She was wearing a cancer awareness mask every single day to court because she was sick from breast cancer treatment. And she had the breast cancer, pin on every day. And, she was trying to play that role for sympathy. And the jury saw right through it, man, and convicted her on every single count.
Absolutely. The gold bar. This is how gold smugglers, those gold smugglers in Guyana and other parts of the world, they use the gold bars to do their trading and bribery and support of terrorism and all sort of corruption. We saw this in the Bob Menendez. By the way, Bob is in jail, right?
No, he's out on bail for waiting his sentencing. He just filed an emergency with the court today, asking to stay out on bail until he has to report for his jail term.
And when does he have to report for his jail term? I know you're probably going to be there watching with your camera.
It's with the next 45 days. So he's it's coming up here. It's close.
Yeah, he might pretend that he has might pretend that he has an heart attack. So your book is dealing specifically with Bob Menendez and his wife and the corruption, gold bars, and so forth. Nothing
That's
about
it.
Guyana.
No, well, there's a lot in there about Cuba and about Panama and about the Dominican Republic. There's a lot in there, man. France.
But nothing. Absolutely, you've been dealing with Guyana for quite some time, and not even a page about Guyana.
I mean, there could have been some stuff in there because Bob Menendez led the group of senators who told Granger to step down.
Oh yeah, a group of questionable individuals, and of course, part and parcel of that. I think Marco Rubio, when he was senator there out in Florida, he issued a statement, and I specifically asked his office to clarify on that statement. It said, no, they're not supporting any government. They're not supporting the PPP. They're not. It's just a general statement. And of course, I said, okay, Marco, it's a general statement. We see it. We read right through it. Tom, what is happening? What else is happening? We see Guyanese, they're preparing for elections. But before we get back to Guyana, what is your take on all of this that's happening in the United States of America? The defense secretary got his chat group and in sharing very important information with his wife and other members of his family, his brother, and other folks who should not be having any sort of access to those sort of information. And then we get what's happening on the immigration front. That guy has been sent to, where is it? El Salvador from Maryland. They're trying to get him back. What's going on, Tom? Talk to us, please.
Mm-hmm. Well, the big thing is, to me, the main thing that everyone in Guyana should understand is that Trump has positioned himself in America to be 100% opposed to China. So we are doing everything in our power to counter them. And how does that fall on the nation of Guyana? Well, that's going to impact you guys because you guys have had a close relationship with China. And so going forward, do you guys keep that relationship with China going forward, or do you kind of, slip away from that? You guys are going to have to make a choice because the way Trump is positioning us, everyone's going to have to make a choice between us. It's going to either be us or China. And so that's that there. And what's going to precipitate it, okay, is if you look at everything that Trump's doing with the tariffs and and everything else, we're going to go into a recession here economically. And when we do, Trump is going to want to do some type of stimulus bill. Okay. And when he does a stimulus, it's probably going to be one of the biggest stimulus bills the world has ever seen. And all of that money is going to be directed towards stuff that the United States has never even tried to build before. And so I think in that, there's going to be a serious component in all of that when it comes to the nation of Guyana. I believe going forward that our government wants to partner with your nation. And so we're going to put the resources into it. And that's just going to be good for the nation of Guyana. I think you guys can look forward to better days, I believe. I think a partnership with us is much more beneficial than one with China. And you guys are going to have to make your choice. I think you guys have chosen us. Hopefully it is us. But the bottom line is you're probably going to have to choose us because Trump is pretty angry. And I don't think he wants China anywhere near the Panama Canal. And he's going to do everything he can to dislodge them. So you guys are close to that. So, yeah, so this is going to be, some interesting times. There's going to be some opportunity here. I think if Guyana plays its cards right, we could be in a situation where the people of Guyana can travel to the United States without needing a visa. That can happen. Okay, those types of things can happen.
But then again, if it happens, then it will move from 750,000 people to probably 750 people. The entire Berbice, New Amsterdam, quarantine all over. They're going to be all over in Queens. They're going to be in Florida. They're going to be in Brooklyn and in the Bronx, all over, Tom. Once you open the floodgate for that, they're not going to be going to China. They're not going to be going to China. I think because if you notice, even if China has a visa-free travel and living and so forth, they're not going to go to China. Guess where they're coming? To the United States of America. And so they ought to be smart in terms of choosing those who are really there for them, and read between the lines. But China isn't giving up. China is saying to those corrupt bandits in the PPP that they want to be the negotiator now, the conduit between Venezuela and Guyana. They want to negotiate. They want them to work together. So China is pulling a power move there. Do you think Jack Day and Irfan are going to bite the bait? Or they're afraid?
Like this is more of, them having to make a choice between us or China. They're gonna have to make a choice. Okay. And China is pushing them on it. Okay. And rightfully so. So, this is why it's imperative that the other reason that the people of Guyana should be voting is for, voting for a party that will bring your nation independence. So that way your nation can stand up to not only China, but to us, the United States as well, for what's best for your nation. That's imperative. You got to have that. Okay?
So another nation is going to decide what is best for Guyana, not the Guyanese people. Are you saying that Guyanese are not capable of making a decision as to what is best for their interest? Another nation has to go in to make that decision for them, Tom? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
That's the problem here, right?
Really? That sounds a little weird when it comes to democracy. I'm big on democracy.
Right. I know.
But the people don't have a say as to what's in their best interest. Somebody else has to go and tell them that we think, Tom, that you should be cooking belange or eggplants tonight. We think you should be cooking eggplants. Or we think that you should be cooking cook-up. Not what you think. I'm just curious, just to hear your response.
Oh, that's what has to. So what's happening now is other nations all around you, Venezuela, Brazil, China, everyone's telling the nation of Guyana what you guys need to do. The United States, we're all telling you have to do this, you have to do that.
But that's my point. When will the people get that opportunity to decide what they want?
Well, the reason why that's happening is because the way the people have been voting, and the way the elections have gone in Guyana, there hasn't been a focus on the nation being independent. There hasn't been a focus on, hey, how do we put ourselves in a position where we aren't pushed from side to side and all over the place by these other foreign powers that continuously nudge us here and nudge us there? How do we stand more firm for what our people need and what will benefit us more? Because at the end of the day, we in America, we might think we know what's best for you guys in Guyana, but we don't know. You guys know. So it'll never work with some outside entity telling you guys what to do, because we are on the outside. We can't tell you guys inside of your own country, the best route for you to take. It's impossible. And so that's why these elections have to be about this. But the elections haven't been about it. The elections have been about, the PPP versus the PNC, and Aubrey Norton's a bad guy, or Irfan Ali, what is he talking about? It's all like nonsense. No, I don't hear a debate about, hey, which party is going to give our nation more independence, is going to make it so that we aren't being influenced in bad ways by nations who might have good intentions, but they just don't know any better. How do we stand up to that, to say, hey, you know what? We understand that your intentions are good, but actually we can't go that route with you because that's not what's best for us. Okay. We need to go a different route on this.
So it's what's best for the big nation, and it's not what's best for the people of Guyana. I got you.
Yes. Right. That's all. You don't want to be run over. And unfortunately, right now, with China saying, hey, we want to be the middleman to negotiate with Venezuela, that's China trying to run you guys over. That's all that is. Right. And so how do you get in a position where you have independence and where you're at a point where China doesn't try to come in and do that? Right. When are you going to get to that point? Which party is which candidate for president is going to be the one, if they become president, is going to be the one to position Guyana in a way where China doesn't even try to do something like that?
No, Tom. There's not going to be. I hear you. I'd like to have that. I'd like to hear that debate. But they're going to be very soft. They're going to be pussycats on these issues. They're not going to want to ruffle feathers with China. They're not going to want to ruffle feathers with America. and maybe rightly so. They're not going to want to ruffle feathers with those two power countries, power nations, and so forth. And they're going to skirt around the issue. They're going to say we're friends with Guyana, has been friends with China for 60 something years. Guyana is friends with, well, if the PNC say that about the Americans, it is good. It is honesty. But the PPP cannot say they're friends with America. They have been fighting and they've been working against America for the longest while. This so-called relationship that you see now is for convenience sake. They're not true to this sort of relationship with America. And I think a debate, we'll get to hear what Aubrey Norton, if he is the presidential candidate for a coalition, or he's just the presidential candidate for the PNC, and others, or the serious presidential candidate, now, little thing, trying a little thing, and the PPP, to hear directly from them in a debate what they stand for. Thus far, we're not hearing anything, we're not seeing. But I think Jack Deere and Irfan, they might be the ones running from a debate. But you never know who's running these days. Tom, your closing remarks, please, as we prepare. 3 minutes after 10 o'clock. What else is happening? Maybe in Guyana that we didn't discuss. Maybe in your closing remarks you want to.
No, I just think, once again, I think the future of Guyana is bright. I think the people just have to get a little more focused on what really matters. Okay. To force these parties to start talking about the issues that matter and to start, planning for the things that matter for the people of Guyana. That's what's important, because right now what I hear a lot happening from the PPP is, oh, we're doing all this work and we're offering all these good things. And it's just, people have to be better at taking advantage of it. Right. Well, that's sort of the issue here. Okay. If the country is evolving and it's advancing and it's developing, okay, the government is going to have to meet the people where they are and bring them up from there. Okay, that's it. You cannot expect to say, okay, here's the program, now you come get it. That doesn't work that way. You have to go out to the people. Okay, and that means going out to all of the people, not just Indo-Guyanese. You have to go out to everybody. Okay, and that's where I think, the PPP could hugely improve. All right, from just my look from the outside, I can see how they could hugely improve in trying to be more representative of the entire nation and being more hands-on and being able to be in a position to empower everyone, not just the groups that they're familiar with or not just their supporters, right? They're really good at empowering their supporters, but they have to start thinking more about the nation itself, okay? And that's on their side. And no matter what happens in the election, so even if they lose, the PPP still has to fix that about their party. Because, yeah, it's great to always take care of your supporters, okay? But they do it to the extreme, like big time, okay? And it gets out of hand, and it gets to the point where not everyone is benefiting the way they should, okay? And that causes strife and it causes problems in the nation. So you just don't need that, and it's unnecessary. So I sort of see, to me, looking at it from my perspective, Mark, I try to come more from a positive place. I understand that there's a lot of political issues. There's a lot of bad blood in the water between the parties. There's a lot of history there that just can't be swept under the rug, and I don't dare sweep it under the rug. I don't. Okay, I understand that it's there, but I also know this, that what it's going to take for Guyana to move forward in the way that it should move is it's going to take people from all parties and from all walks of life to be able to put politics aside for a moment when they're talking to each other and start talking about the things that really matter, regardless of party politics. Okay. And right now, the main things is just to make sure that Guyana is a place that is an independent country that can stand on its own 2 feet, that can feed its own people, that can produce its own energy, and that can do everything it needs to do on its own without any outside help. It can protect itself. This is not easy to do, right? But this is what the election should be about. It should primarily be about that. And then secondly, the election should be about, okay, well, which leaders are going to step up to the plate to do what's right for all of the people of Guyana, even if it hurts them politically. As a matter of fact, what the people of Guyana should be asking for are elected officials that are doing things that are clearly hurting them politically. Why? Because usually those things that hurt them politically that they're doing anyway, it's because it's what's right to do. Okay, it's what's right for the people. And so no matter who the party is that's in power, the people should be demanding that when they make decisions, that those decisions should hurt them politically at least a little bit all the time, because that pain is proof that it's not just political patronage, that it's actually, what's being done is being done to help everybody. And that's what needs to be done more of in Guyana, is that sacrifice. And people, when you're looking at what's going on in the nation, I think the voters and the people need to look at elected officials, and they need to finally say once and for all, hey, these guys are the ones who need to be sacrificing the most. Okay. And they do. And when that day comes that your elected officials are the ones sacrificing the most in your nation, that's the day when Guyana will shine the most, in my opinion.
Yep. Thank you so much, Tom Anderson there. It's 8 minutes after 10 o'clock. The people of Guyana, majority of the people of Guyana have no hope in the PPP. They know that the PPP cannot change. They've done it for 23 years. They're back with their same tricks again for the past 4 years. The PPP is just all about corruption. There is no evidence that they take care of their supporters. However, quite the contrary, there is evidence that they take care of friends, families, members, and favorites. That's all they do. Because if we take a listen to how these folks out in a place called Blackbush Polder feel, how they feel about the PPP, and this is supposed to be a PPP stronghold. Everybody visits them. They're punishing people at Port Morant. I'll name some of those places. So whenever you have a chance to go to Guyana, maybe, I know you've promised to be in Guyana several years ago. Vice News instead secretly visited the country many years, and you're well aware anyways. And so you need to visit, and when you do, well, by then the PPP will be out of office after this elections, keeping our fingers crossed. Blackbush Polder, the people are punishing, and it's supposed to be predominantly an area that supported the PPP. Port Morant, under quarantine, the people are punishing, and they're supposed to be predominantly PPP supporters in those areas. Little India, in Corriverton, the people are punishing. All across you go in predominantly PPP stronghold areas, the people are complaining, they are punishing under the corrupt PPP regime. There's no employment for young people. There's no employment for women. There's absolutely nothing. But the billions of dollars coming in from the oil wealth, it's basically distributed to friends and families and favorites. They're giving billions of dollars to their friends and their favorites. People don't have to have experience. They're giving them contracts, billions of dollars. Well, some of them are fighting amongst each other now, which is a good thing. Tom, quickly before we go, though, sir, I want you to take a listen to this. And let me get your opinion if you so wish to offer an opinion.
You probably won't believe it, but I'm actually a...
You had to smile when you saw her.
Oh, no.
Take a listen to our friend, man. You got to listen to
You probably won't believe it, but I'm actually a virgin at age 21. I never slept with a woman. I never had a girlfriend. I never even kissed a woman. And it's not for religious reasons, and it's not because I'm waiting for marriage. Let me tell you about it. So I grew up in a very conservative village, and people don't really appreciate you thinking differently, right? So I didn't have a lot of social contacts, not with girls, just with like a few of my friends. Eventually I started my travels, eventually I reached to Trinidad, like my TikTok blew up. And yeah, all of a sudden I got all these attention from girls, like a bunch of girls trying to sleep with me, like DMing me, even like sometimes in person, especially in the ghettos, girls are like really straightforward.
I like fucking white.
Okay.
I love fucking white.
But I feel like, especially...
Tom, apart from that, of all the girls that DM him, all the girls, wherever he goes, decided to put that black woman there, that African Guyanese woman there about
From the ghetto. From the ghetto.
Yeah. Doctor, what is your take? What's his agenda, man? Right.
This guy, you know, I sent you, I told you about this guy before, Mark. I was looking at this guy and I was wondering, who is this guy? You know, and once I saw that, I said, oh, you know, this guy must be up to something, because who puts out a video like that? And who says that, who tells the world I'm a virgin and then puts out that black woman saying something as vulgar as she said? He's supposed to be this nice virgin guy. Why is he putting vulgar language? Just something's off about that guy. You know, I'm watching him, man. There's something off with that guy.
Something is definitely off. He used that black girl. He used that African Guyanese woman to say what she said, and he's supposed to be from this conservative place, that he grew up in a conservative place. How are they going to accept that he showed them about that black woman? How disrespectful it is. And is he still in Guyana? Have you been tracing him?
I don't know if he's still there. I think you know, after he met with Irfan Ali, I think he started to act like he's going to leave now or something. I don't know, but yeah.
But something you said, something is weird about him, though, right? Something.
Oh, big time. Yeah, got to watch that guy.
You got to watch him indeed. Tom Anderson, thank you so much. By the way, nice haircut. Nice haircut.
Thanks, man.
Thank you so much. Let me go and check out who is smuggling gold bars out of Guyana now, becoming this, what is satellite billionaire, overnight billionaires suddenly. Lots of them, man. You got to keep an eye on them, Tom. But thank you so much for what you do. And thank you so much for always willing to appear on Straight Up. Thanks. You, sir.
Have a good night. Take care.
Sure. Tom Anderson there for you guys. And my name is Mark Benshop. Of course, you guys know that 21-year-old guy said he's a virgin. We're beginning to wonder why he would come out publicly to say that. Why the need to say that? Is it something that caused that to happen? Is he trying to prove a point about something? Tom is correct. Tom is keeping an eye on him. Not me, but Tom is keeping an eye on him. Anyways, guys, it's always a pleasure to be with you, all of you. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. You've got to whisper to some of those, the opposition is strong enough to win the elections again, just like they won the elections in 2020. Rhonda Lane, how are you doing? Annette Cummings, all of you. This is what I want to say to you guys. There's an elections to be won. Some of those PNC people, some of them, not all of them, there's still many good ones, and I salute and respect them. But I guess some pacus who are doing more harm to their leader, and they've got to stop it. They got to stop it. And some of them have never even voted for the PNC. Some of them don't even have a PNC card, but they're more PNC than anything else. And suddenly, one or two of those pacus are whispering that, guess who? Benshop. They're saying Mark Benshop. That's me. Of all person, I'm not real black, and I don't like black people. And these are people who expect to win an election. There's so much more that I want to talk, but you got to talk half and left half, right? But if that's their approach, can't eat the dinner. They got to wake up. Some of them aren't that smart enough to understand the damage that they're doing at this point in time, when they're supposed to be uniting. Not everybody's a PNC member. I'm not a PNC member. I may support the opposition. There's a big difference. And so people got to be cautious in what they do and what they say, because they're going to turn people away from them. And when people turn away from them, they have nobody else but themselves to blame. I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. God bless you all. Until tomorrow.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata from Sissy Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Are we going to do a bowling man walk right now? You ready? Boxer, let me go now. Hear me sing now. Bowling walk.